My roommate's last name was Costro. Not Costco. That's different. Costro. Now, Costro and I shared this room, and Costro was an entrepreneur. Even at 21 years old, this guy was always thinking, how can I make money? And not like in a sleazy way, but in a smart way. For example, if you have a Marine that will call a cab and he'll pay $20 to go from where he's at on base to the club out in town, Jimmy will rent, Costro will rent a vehicle for $60 and he'll fill that vehicle up with people that were going to spend $20, and now he's just made profit. Everybody else pays the same amount that they were going to pay, but instead of riding a cab, they're riding an Escalade. You see what I mean? He's just very smart. And Costro had this way about him where he just seemed to make things happen. And there was some, like, my brain never even functioned that way. It's like he just produced money. So Costro and I were sharing this room one day, and we look outside the window, and you could see the chow hall. All the Marines are down there, and, you know, it's time to eat. But there's a line of Marines, like, wrapped around the building. And we're like, what is going on down there? So we look, and we're asking other people, like, hey, what's going on down here? And somebody says, well, there's a bunch of reservists on base. Oh, man, we're never going to get to eat. Like, that line wraps around the building. If we go down there, it's going to take us 2 hours to get food. Like, I'm just going to go hit a restaurant or something. Hey, let's get a cab. Let's get a Costro Uber, and we'll head out in town. After a couple days of this, Costro says to me, bro, we should just start a restaurant. I said, what? What do you mean? He was like, bro, we could cook food in the room and people would just come get the food from us. And I'm like, huh. Okay, well, how do we do that? He's like, I got an idea. So we go to Costco and we buy Fry Daddies and George Foreman grills, not sponsored, onion rings, fries. We got the whole Twix, boxes of Twix bars, and it just goes. We get back to the room and we set up everything. And I mean, like, the entire room is a kitchen. So what we do is, when chow time comes, you have to imagine that all of the buildings, the barracks, are 3-story, 4-story buildings, long brick buildings, and there's a quad in the center, big grass area. So we open up the window, we take this giant orange cone, and we throw it out into the quad. When people see the orange cone, the restaurant is open. So people start lining up outside the window. And they get to the window, they stand there, and there's a menu in the window. And they go, all right, let me get a number 1 with onion rings and a Twix and a Coke. And we got the George Foremans, we got Fry Daddies. We're killing it. All right, I got you set up, and we got the styrofoam trays. We got plasticware napkins, and we're just taking cash. This is way before you swipe your card on my phone. No, just bring cash, bro. Step aside, and we're just handing out styrofoam like it's great. Costro and I are making $400 a week each from this little restaurant. Guys come in, they say, hey, let me get a burger, onion rings, a Twix, and this is like $5. Making money hand over fist. Everybody's thrilled because they get to eat. It's good food, and we're just killing it. I say to Costro, bro, this is like magic. He's like, yeah, it was like you got to work for it, but it's money. Everybody wins here. So, man, this is crazy. I just never thought this was the thing. So this goes on for about a week. All of a sudden, we got the restaurant going, and then In the door comes the first sergeant. The first sergeant is several higher ranks than me. Several. This guy's been in for 20-something years. I'm just barely hitting 4. He comes in, he goes, "What's going on here, fellas?" We say, "Hey, First Sergeant, we're feeding Marines. That's what we do. We're feeding Marines." He says, "What do you got going on?" He starts looking around. "Wow, this is quite the operation, fellas." He's looking around. He grabs an onion ring. He sits down on the couch and just starts hanging out, eating onion rings. I mean, he's the first sergeant. What the hell am I going to do? Tell him no? So we just keep dishing out food, taking money, dishing out food. Everybody's happy. First sergeant knows about it. We're solid. So this goes on. And one day, the knock on the door. Now, the restaurant's not running. It's like the middle of the day. It's a knock on the door. I open up the door, and there standing is the battalion executive officer. Like, one of those guys. Officer, like, he's probably been on TV a few times. And the battalion sergeant major. This cat's been in for 30 years. Don't take no bullshit. They're standing in my door. And I was, "Oh, hey, morning, sir, Sergeant Major." And it's me and Castro. Now, I'm the sergeant, so I got to speak for everybody, right? And Castro's the lower rank, so I got to speak my piece. "Sir, Sergeant Major, what can I do for you?" He taps on the window, and he goes, "What's this, Sergeant?" And I I open the curtain. It's the menu pressed against the window. And I was like, "Oh, we have a little restaurant, sir. You want me to pull something out?" He's like, who told you could do this?" "I don't understand, sir. Like the reservists are all here. The chow hall's full. Like we had to find a solution. Feeding Marines." He's like, "Were you charging them?" So yes, $5 a plate, sir. $5, easy. Take home, $5. He's like, you can't charge Marines." "Well, how are we going to make money, sir? I mean, we had to buy the stuff." And he was like, "No." He's like, "You're taking money from the base. If you're feeding them for money, that money needs to go to the base." And I was like, "Well, sir, I mean, with all due respect, First Sergeant has been here. He knows what we got going on. We're good." Wrong answer. I may have inadvertently thrown my first sergeant under the bus. Didn't realize. Cat's out of the bag. So he says, "Shut it down." Now, the XO is the one doing all the talking. This is the educated one. The sergeant major is the short, stocky, mustachioed bravado fella that just stares through your soul with that lower jaw unhinged. I said, "Oh, shit." I said, "Roger that, sir." He says, "Shut it down." I said, "Roger that, sir." "No, shut it down." "You hear me, Sergeant?" "Roger that, sir. Take care of it immediately." Good to go. And then they leave. Shit. But wouldn't you know, it was only a matter of time before the first sergeant... Shit. "Hey, First Sergeant, can I do for you?" He's like, "What the hell happened?" "Well, he's like, XO came by, Sergeant Major came by, we got busted." He's like, "What the hell made you think you could run a restaurant out of here?" Now, I know how this game is played. He's got to play his part. He's got to chew our asses, so he said that he did it. It comes with the territory. Hey, roger that. I'll take my ass chewing like a man, and then we'll be done with it. Everybody's happy. I said, "Sir, First Sergeant, I thought we were doing the right thing." He's like, "You got caught." I said, "No, I understand." He was like, "No, you got caught. Don't get caught." And I was like, "Don't get caught." He said, "Don't get caught." So, okay. Roger that. So he leaves. Now, earlier, when I had mentioned that me and Castro were just in a room by ourselves, it's an important detail, because in a 4-man room, when you only have 2 people, there's only 2 beds. There's more space for, kitchen stuff. But there's also 2 extra giant wall lockers. Probably 4 feet wide, 2 feet deep. We went and got a bunch of shelves, a bunch of surge protectors and extension cords, and we built shelves inside the wall lockers for the Fry Daddies and the George Foremans and all of the things. And we had that restaurant a-running. Now, we had to take the cone. We couldn't throw it out into the quad. We had to take it, open the window, and just set it right outside on the walk. And then guys would go, and just, and like stealth operators, come stack up outside the window. Let me get a number 1. Onion rings, 2 Twix bars, go. And we would just be dishing them out. And all of a sudden, everybody would disappear. Shit, you know what that means. Grab the cone, window shut, menu, curtain, close the doors, good side. Goo, 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 goo. Oh, open it up. Guess who? Italian XO, Italian Sergeant Major. And they just stare. And I got Castro over here, and I'm here. They stare. Sir? Sergeant Major? They stare. Say something. Say something. Enough time goes by that I realize, like, okay, they think they got me. They got us. Ain't no evidence. I'm going to need you to say it, sir, right? I'm not going to say that, but here's where we are. Till finally enough time has passed, and I look over at Castro to see what his face says. And when I do that, and I look at him for some kind of clue of what to do, I see the horror. There is steam and smoke billowing out of the wall lockers like a locomotive, like a steam engine back in the old-timey movies. And I drop my shoulders. Shit. And then Castro turns around and just goes, And I look up at them, and they go, yep. And all they said was, who's your platoon commander? I said, it's Lieutenant so-and-so. Good to go. And they walked out. Oh. And you just know trouble is a-brewing. Close the door. We shut it down because we know there is no coming back from this. The question is, what is going to happen to us? Because that's twice that we have been approached by very important people. So it wasn't long. I think it was probably either the same day or the next day. We get called down on the carpet. The lieutenant, our own platoon commander, calls us into the office, and we're standing in front of him. He says, what in the hell made you think you could run a restaurant out of the barracks? Now, again, me being the sergeant, I had to do the majority of talking. I said, sir, I really thought we were doing the right thing. There was a problem. We found a solution, and we did it. He said, you can't take money from the base. I said, no, sir, I totally understand that. I get it. But just that's not how we viewed it. Now, while he's doing this, he's got our service record books open in front of him. And he's flipping a couple pages, and he's looking at this, looking at that. And he's looking for disciplinary notices that might be in your record book. Now, Castro may have had a couple. He was Castro. Me, I had nothing. Nothing. Now, in your service record book, on page 11, there's disciplinary notes. Mine is crystal clear. So he goes to page 11, grabs his pen, and starts to write. And I thought, there's no way. I have months until I get out of here. And you're going to discipline me for this? Like, this is where it's very unlike me, but I pushed back just a touch. I said, sir, with all due respect, I don't think this is the right answer. He stops and he looks up at me, just questions me. I said, sir, I made sergeant in less than 3 years. That's quite a feat. Castro made corporal before his first term was over. We thought we were doing the right thing. He looks and he pauses. He kind of looks away for a second. I can see him thinking about it. I think to myself, nice, nailed it. He looks back and he goes, you thought wrong. And he keeps writing. And here I am, months away from honorable discharge out of the Marine Corps, an unblemished record, and a restaurant busted with smoke coming out of the lockers is what got me. Now, granted, I was still honorably discharged. I still left with flying colors. Everything was fine, no problems. It was just knowing that there was a little blemish on that page 11. It could have been worse. They could have thrown me in the brig. Who knows? But no, it was not a perfect record, just for that mere thing. And I will always regret the moment when the lieutenant said to me, it was something to the effect of, well, you're charging Marines. I said, well, sir, we got to buy the stuff. He was like, well, but then you made money. I said, yes, sir, that's profit. You're supposed to make profit, right? Capitalism. Awkward. That shake of the head like he's a disappointed father. At 21, blemished record. Steam coming out of it. Yep, busted. When I tell you the amount of work we went through to make this happen, some of you, I think it was Ashley, mentioned in the chat earlier, you can be blowing some fuses. You're right. Castro had to regularly borrow somebody's specific knife, crawl under the building to get to this one little like breaker box, had to use his knife to like open the door and then put the fuses back on. Constantly. Shit show. So why do I tell you this story? This complete nonsense of story. The reason I wanted permission to tell you this story and specifically use Castro's name is because in my house, for me, Castro is a verb. And what it means is when I go into Castro mode, it means that I start to take charge. Start to take charge almost as if it's like an alter ego. Castro was great about this because he was literally the guy that could walk into a room of people that didn't like him, but by the time he left, he had all the friends and phone numbers in the world. He was just a smooth guy. He made things happen. Now, yeah, he could make some money, sure, but he made things happen. He took charge. And that was a skill that I gained from being his roommate and his friend. And Castro has not changed. He owns a very successful business. He has traveled the world 9 times over. He lives in Thailand. He's doing very, very well for himself. So this is part of who he is. When we watched these videos here for the album breakdown, and I started to have these things kind of strike inside me, it reminded me that there was a point in my life when I was always in Castro mode. Always. It's just who I was. I would take charge. Nothing could slow me down. If there was a problem, I found a solution and we drove on. Fert, when she was going through grad school to be a psychologist and get her PhD, she even said to me at one point, I want to get my cohort to do like a positivity, like a positive psychology study on, like you need to be done. Like they need to study you You always positive. You always find a way to be positive. I don't know how you can do that. So it wasn't too far away. But then something shifted. The Castro mode went away, and at some point I can't remember, I started letting life kind of happen to me. Now that has led to some good things, because if I didn't, well, this is kind of a double-edged sword, I suppose, but even coming to this place here and us doing this was, first it was a moment of letting life happen to me, but then it was also a moment where I kind of had to take charge. So that doesn't really work. But I have noticed more and more over the years that my personality has changed. I have become a much more introverted, closed off, guarded, and insecure version of myself. This is why I think it's so important that we interpret things when they're presented to us. We interpret them for ourselves because it can show us things that we might be ignoring or might not be seeing. Now, if I think really deeply, I think that there's probably a chance that some of this was from when I lost my dad. That shifted something in me. And even my wife said, "You have never been the same." Well, that leads to a bunch of other conversations. But the point is, there's probably a few bookmarks in my journey in the last several years that have become points of concern, which have changed my personality. The reason I mention why this is timely is because I had this revelation the other day when I was trying to think of my New Year's resolution, which I'm sure some of you can relate to. For me, this upcoming year will not be a matter of a resolution. It'll be, for me, a restructure. I need to ground myself. When you all watched my videos and the live streams, and a lot of you had concerns about me running headfirst into the wall and, not taking care of myself, as I've told you, you were 100% right. This is what it looks like when I float about all nilly-willy and I bounce from tree to tree. That's what this looks like. You literally watch it happen on the videos. And that is difficult sometimes for me to watch, because I can literally pull up a video at any time and I can watch my transition happen. There are moments in my journey at the very beginning when I was young, doe-eyed Roscoe, had no idea what life was even about. So hyper and all over the damn place. It's crazy. That was a different version of me. And then as time progressed and I floated and I floated and I floated, and it was just me consuming everything, me consuming the videos, consuming the community, consuming the private messages and other people's problems and this, and it just becomes where you think you're consuming everything, but everything is consuming you. Because I have not been grounded. I have not had an identity. My evolution has gone from a laser to a cloud. And I wanted to highlight the Castro thing because part of my restructuring and grounding in the new year involves me Castroing again. Returning to that verb of what it means to take control of your life and not just let life happen to me, which has been way too damn long. And it's hard for men to acknowledge this or even admit it out loud, but the truth is, over the last several years, and I've had moments where this wasn't the case, but they were all so brief, I've had moments over the last few years, several years, where I have gone from absolute rock star mode, confident and can win the world, to a shell of myself, insecure, lacking confidence, unsure about every single decision that I make. And even though I joked about it in the beginning of this live stream, I didn't joke about it, I told you, 302 of these live streams, and I still get nervous. And I get nervous because as much as I love this journey, I'm one moment away from this all going away. Think about that. One moment away from all of this shattering. That's a hard reality to embrace. It's a hard reality to acknowledge when you are unsure of yourself and you lack confidence and you're insecure and you're not comfortable in your own skin, but you turn a camera on and you let people from around the world watch you and decipher you and analyze you. Yes, I realize this is a complete oxymoron. I know. But as much fun as I have here doing this, this has also been a bit of immersion therapy for me, a bit of exposure therapy. Because sometimes I have to force myself to sit here and turn that camera on, and then generally speaking, most of the time, and I do mean 99% of the time, after a few minutes of seeing you and talking to you, I calm down. I feel okay. But seeing myself in the monitor and watching myself in playback is difficult because I don't see me. I see a different version of me. I see a sadder version of me. Now, yes, I am much happier now than I have been, but there is still a lot of work to be done. I have a lot of joy in my life, but it seems to be quelled sometimes really quickly by insecurity and lack of confidence. I don't like that. That's not me. So in the new year, I will present to you the circle chart. I will present to you a schedule because I need to ground myself. I don't want... See, there's something funny that happens with this relationship. Strangely, I was watching a Markiplier video earlier. Some of you are familiar with Markiplier. He's a YouTuber. He's come a long way. He's been around the game for like 15 years or something. He's got like 38 million subscribers. He's a big dog. But one thing I appreciate about Markiplier, even though I don't really watch his videos, he just showed up in my feed and I watch him. I said, that's a good looking cat. I like his hair. I'll watch him. He was just kind of talking to the camera and just saying, I'm tired. I just need you all to understand that I'm a little tired. I've been working my ass off. I'm trying. I can't put a video out every day. I know, and I know you get it. I know you're not asking anything from me, but I just need you to know that I'm tired. I just need some me time. I'll be back. Just need some downtime. And I thought to myself the same thing that you're thinking to yourself, which is the same thing that's in all the comments, which is, bro, nobody's asking you to explain it to us, right? You don't owe us anything, bro. You're just a guy being a guy. You don't owe us anything as your audience. You do you, and we'll follow along where you let us. And I know most of you feel that way. If not all of you feel that way, I get it. But I think it's important for me, and I think for some of you, I think for me it's important to get this out because it makes it real. It makes me face it. It makes me acknowledge it publicly, and there's a set of accountability there. And I think it's important for some of you because some of you have been feeling the same way, but maybe you can't articulate it. Or maybe this is just a way for you to hear that somebody else is going through the same shit that you're going through. Either way, I think there's value.